Social media companies have taken action against Donald Trump following the president's continued pushing of election fraud conspiracies, which culminated in the attempted takeover of the Capitol building on Wednesday. First, Twitter locked Donald Trump's account because the company said that he had violated its rules against interfering in elections or other civil processes. So that's a result, of course, of tweeting false claims about election fraud. Obviously, they weren't true. And so at first, when he was tweeting those things, Twitter would just be like, mark it as false, mark it as disputed, mark it as this, mark it as that. Okay. Now, one of those, by the way, that was deemed to be false is a video. Are videos, of course, about election fraud that haven't been proven out by evidence. But one of the videos that got him in trouble was a video that got about 13 million views. And in that video, Trump, this again was during the violence, Trump urged his supporters to, quote, go home now, I guess after they made their point, but also repeated those false claims about election fraud. He also told his followers that he loved them and that they were very special. Yes, very special. Very special indeed. Now, Twitter said that it required the removal of other tweets from Trump's account in order to have that, that ban on his account lifted, to get it unlocked so he can start tweeting again. A Twitter spokesperson confirmed on Thursday that those tweets had been deleted and that the platform was reportedly set to return access to Trump's account on Thursday morning, which of course it's Thursday afternoon, so he's back. Now, they said that if he violates Twitter's rules again, the company could permanently suspend his account. So now that's Twitter, but it's not just Twitter. You also have other social media companies like Facebook. Facebook actually took a harder stance, which is surprising, actually, because here you have Facebook banning Donald Trump from posting. Interesting. Facebook said it pulled down a video from Trump because it believes it could contribute to more violence, but it took a step further and said that they indefinitely banned Donald Trump from the platform. So Facebook just went nuclear. And here's what Mark Zuckerberg said in a statement. Quote, the shocking events of the last 24 hours clearly demonstrate that President Donald Trump intends to use his remaining time in office to undermine the peaceful and lawful transition of power to his elected successor, Joe Biden. We believe the risks of allowing the president to continue to use our service during this period are simply too great. Therefore, we are extending the block that we placed on his Facebook and Instagram accounts indefinitely and for at least the next 2 weeks until the peaceful transition of power is complete. So basically, what this means is that as far as the president, he can no longer post on Facebook as president. Now, when he is no longer in power, I guess he can go create another account and start posting on Facebook, which I don't know if I really see the difference with that. But okay, no more President Trump posting. Gotcha. Hey, y'all, sorry. Been fun posting his descent into madness one on, or documenting his descent into madness one post at a time, but I guess the party is over when it comes to Facebook. Although, I guess there's still hope for Twitter. Even Instagram, by the way, banned him. So no more Insta. Shopify also went after Trump and said that it would take Trump's pages offline. The Trump campaign and Trump organization both use Shopify to sell the merchandise. Trump's actions violated Shopify's acceptable use policy, which prohibits promotion in support of organizations, platforms, and people that threaten or condone violence or to further a cause, the company told HuffPost. So, okay. Now, here's the thing. All right. Too little, too late. Should have been too little, too late, but you know what I mean. Right? If your goal was to prevent violence, then obviously, well, you done fucked up. Not a good job. Bad, terrible job. The president has been tweeting conspiracy theories and have been riling up people for 4 fucking years. Or more, actually. And now, with less than 2 weeks until he is gone, now you suddenly pull the plug. Oh, okay, weak sauce. Total weak sauce. The weakest sauce. Tremendously weak. Low energy Jeb Bush sauce. Let me tell you. Jeb.
Tighten up.
Please clap.
I meant to do that one, but anyway. All right, so now here's the thing, okay? This gets into a bigger discussion about gatekeeping and social media in general and speech, okay? So now I don't like the idea of social media as gatekeepers, okay? I generally tend to be on the side of protecting free speech, but you know, before you get on me about that, free speech doesn't apply to private companies' TOSs, all right? So when you sign up for a Facebook or a Twitter account, you're agreeing to the company's rules, and that the company, part of the rules, it says that if you break their rules, if you say something or do something that they don't like, for example, post pornography, pornographic images, or hate speech or anything like that, the company can nuke your account. All right, and so we all know this. We know this. Okay, so this is common. Okay, so we don't actually have free speech on Twitter. We don't actually have free speech on Facebook. The only way to get free speech on either of those platforms is to nationalize those platforms, and even then, you also, part of free speech is not inciting riots. So the things that you can't do with free speech is yell fire in a crowded theater, which puts people in danger, and incite riots, especially incite riots against the government. So this is not a free speech issue. All right. That said, okay. And understand, like, now that Trump will be leaving, one way or the other, right? This is why these companies are taking a stand against him. Okay, not because they believe in doing the right thing. No, the right thing to these companies is whatever helps their bottom line. Okay, if Donald Trump had won the election, do you think these companies would still be kissing his ass? Yep. Remember, Mark Zuckerberg used to meet with Trump at the White House, okay, in order to help his own business. And so you also, I've talked about how the algorithms on Facebook are geared towards helping right-wing pages, right? That's why right-wing pages, the right-wing presence is so much larger on Facebook than it is anywhere else. That's where a majority of these, Trump groups and conspiracy groups tend to be, because Facebook has generally been pretty good about them, or I should say towards them. Okay, and so, I mean, look, Daily Wire is a fact checker, an official fact checker for Facebook, or at least was up till a while. Okay, and so, but Zuckerberg would come out there and say, "Oh yes, yes, sir. No, we are not biased. Against conservatives. In fact, we are going to give you even more representation on our platform. We're going to give your pages, conservative pages, much more reach. Please don't break us up." So, yeah. And again, here's the thing about Zuckerberg. I don't necessarily buy that Zuckerberg is like a conservative, right? I definitely think that he's in favor of tax cuts for himself. And I think he's in favor of deregulation for himself. Why? It's because he wants to make money. That's what it's about. So if you suck up to Trump, as Mark Zuckerberg don't care. Mark Zuckerberg wants to suck up to whoever's in power. And so that means now sucking up to Democrats who are about to take power. Joe Biden about to take power. You have the Senate that is in control of the Democrats. You have the House that's in control of the Democrats. Democrats could regulate you. He really doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want that to happen. And so, but again, the real issue with Facebook is proliferation of conspiracy theorists getting massive audiences and massive reach. And it's, of course, the same with YouTube, to be fair, although YouTube has cracked down a little bit more. But there has been that issue of algorithms pushing people down rabbit holes by recommending more and more extreme content, conspiracy content. And that, I think, fueled exactly what we saw yesterday. So on the one hand, things cannot stay the same. But at the same time, I've always been concerned about companies like YouTube overreacting and not only banning right-wing channels, but also targeting left-wing channels and prioritizing big corporate news sources, which aren't always right, which do have some, and I've, reported on this before, have reportedly pushed some some false narratives, especially about progressives, people like Bernie Sanders, for example, or people like, now I can't think of his name, Jeremy Corbyn, pushing anti-Semitism charges against him. And so that are just blatantly false. And so that's a problem, right? And so even though I do appreciate a lot of the work that, mainstream outlets do, there is some there's some corporate establishment bias built into that. And that's why I think that, independent media is so important. And I know the argument is kind of self-serving because as independent media, I would benefit from this as well. But understand that, this is something that we have been pushing against. We've been fighting against the corporatization of news instead of the democratization of news. But there's also, again, a balance that needs to be struck. Okay, we need to make sure that harmful, untrue information doesn't get spread around and do real damage, as we've seen. But we still also need to allow the indie ecosystem of people who do tend to buck the establishment and official narratives to be able to exist. And be able to thrive on these platforms and reach new audiences and reach new people. But as far as Trump is concerned, even according to the First Amendment, which doesn't apply on this, incitement is not considered speech, as I mentioned before. So I'm actually okay with them banning Donald Trump from the platforms as he continuously has broken TOS. And so I think they should have taken action much sooner against the president. But what's done, I guess, is done. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.